The New York Knicks lose to a terrible team for the second straight night. Is it time to panic? I don't think so, but we're going to talk about it right now.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Gavin, Schall, your favorite play-by-play broadcaster's favorite play-by-play broadcaster, and of course, the Saturday co-host of the Locked On NBA podcast. He is Alex Wolfe, editor-in-chief of the Strickland, the greatest Knicks website in the whole wide world. You can check them out on all forms of social media at thestrict.land. You know, when the Knicks beat a terrible team and when they get crushed by a terrible team, the Strickland will be there either to hype you up or comfort you. That's what we're going to talk about today. But first, just in case you didn't know, this is Locked On Knicks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, your daily podcast on the New York Knicks, giving the most detailed insight on your favorite team 5 whole days a week and sometimes more. So be sure to join thousands of other Knicks fans in subscribing on both YouTube and your favorite podcast platform for the best insight on your favorite team every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200. It's normally $100, $200 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. And if you want to know if the Knicks are the right team to bet on, well, you can check out the Locked On Knicks newsletter. That's right, introducing the one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. It's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Knicks newsletter with writing from Alex and I, our team of national writers here at Locked On. And, of course, Josh Lloyd to help you close out your fantasy basketball championship. The New York Knicks was not good again tonight, 115-98. They're getting closer to beating the worst teams in the league, though. Just when you thought it couldn't get worse, it did. The defense was really bad. The offense, arguably even worse. What's going on with this team? Three perfect bullet points, Alex. I'll leave it to you. What is going on with this team? How did it get worse from last night?
I don't know. I mean, it was kind of just a lot of the same, right? It was, I don't want to pin it all on him because he's obviously been good offensively the last few games, especially since Brunson's been down. But this game, more than ever, just hammered home like if two of the worst teams in the league can just repeatedly exploit Karl-Anthony Towns on the inside, like something's broken here. Like something is not working. I mean, on the offensive end, this is maybe where, a game like this is where I feel like the Knicks miss Jalen Brunson the most, where the nights where nobody else can hit anything, that you can always rely on Brunson to still get you like 30 something points and go out there and, just however he's got to do it. Maybe he gets hot from 3. Maybe he just starts making his floaters. Maybe he gets 12 free throws, whatever. Like Brunson just always finds a way to get you the points that you need. And, look, like in today's NBA, 115 points is not a ton to give up. 98 is certainly an abysmally low number to put up against one of the worst teams in the league. And 105, the game prior against another really bad team and losing by 15 plus points 2 nights in a row to 2 teams that will probably be picking in the top 6 in the draft this year, depending on how the lottery goes. Like, not great. I think the main thing to me is just, again, it's, they missed Mitch a lot in this game, who sat for like injury management, I think it was called, after playing a little more robust of a game the night before, against the Spurs. And I thought, that was the only silver lining in that game against the Spurs, was that Mitch probably had, I think, his best game since coming back. And then you see in this game, like, oh yeah, the reason that the Knicks were kind of able to come back against the Spurs from like 30 down and get it to like within 8 was that Mitch kind of like helped get them there and was a big part of like their interior defense, shoring up and them not just being complete pushovers on the inside, which is basically how Cat's been playing lately. And like, look, I don't want to crap on the guy too hard because I know that, maybe he's still going through some personal stuff. I know that he had the death of a close friend and everything recently, but like at a certain point, if you need to take another PTO day or something, do it, dude. Like, because whatever's going on with him on the court right now is not great. I mean, it feels to me, based off body language and stuff, that he is feeling like he has to be the linchpin of the offense, which is probably true. is feeling maybe a little disrespected by the refs or whatever and feeling like he's not getting enough calls. I mean, maybe he had a point in this game. He did only shoot 2 free throws the whole game and was, playing fairly physical on the inside, but at least on the offensive end, but you can't let that leak over into the defense when you're the last line of defense. And there were so many like low-hanging fruit opportunities for him to just put his hands up in this game. Like just pretend to care on the inside, and he won't even give that much of a contest. It's like if someone gets inside, it's just hands down, watch him go by. Oh, well, we'll get him on the next possession. Then the next possession, it's the same thing. And it's like you wonder why they keep falling into holes, especially against bad teams. Like they're facing two teams that were not shooting particularly great. Like I mean, I guess in this game, the Hornets did get hot late again, but like, they had like Daquan Jeffries get a little hot early, LaMelo Ball get hot late, but otherwise, like in the middle, they didn't go like super crazy in this one. And certainly the Spurs game without Mamu, they were not shooting well from three either. So it's not even like you're just getting torched by a young team that shot a ton of threes and happened to get hot. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's just I don't want to pin it all on Cap, but it was just like he was the number one thing that stood out to me in this game of being like, well, if they want to try to come back in this game, they need someone to actually try to play defense on the inside. And, Precious Achiuwa in Mitch's stead didn't really do much better at all. I thought that he was also very just lame duck on the inside in this game. But, Cat, it's not even like he got into like super foul woes or anything early. He did commit one of his stupidest fouls of the season for his first one early, where he had Mark Williams just pinned against the sideline at one point off a rebound and could have just stood there and kept his arms wide, and Williams probably would have thrown it away to one of Cat's teammates, and instead he just like shoves him in the back for no reason, which was stupid. But yeah, it was just not a great game for Cat. Like don't let the stat if you were just watching the box score and whatever, don't let the stats deceive you. Like unfortunately, this was a really crappy game for him. Like and it's just Sun's got to change with how he's approaching defense and just in general, like what his compete level is like on that side of the ball, because we've seen times of the year this year where he's looked really good and has had like some really good one-on-one success against people and stuff like that. And there's been none of that in these last few games. There's been no help on team defense. There's been really no even attempts to go after blocks or anything. And the fouls are just being used incredibly stupidly when he does. It's just I do not like what he's doing on defense right now. And like Sun's got to change in that respect, because if that doesn't, then they're going to lose two other games against a couple other basement dwellers in the next couple, and it's going to be just as embarrassing as these two. That's for sure, if not more embarrassing, because they might go on a 4-game losing streak against lottery teams, which would just be terrible.
Yeah, I hear you. I thought Cat was pretty awful on defense. I would push back, not that this is what you're saying, but I'd push back on the idea that it was just on him. I thought everyone was really bad on defense, and include like OG had some good moments, but like he had a bunch of terrible closeouts. LaMelo Ball took turns cooking Deuce, Hart, Mikal, and Shamit throughout this one. Like none of them had a chance against him in pick and roll or pick and pop, and like over and over again that led to just open threes, open layups for himself or other guys on the Hornets. And I can get into some more detail on that. Obviously, Deuce, you give a little asterisk to, because he was like, give him credit. He was playing through getting a need in the basketballs the other night. So credit to Deuce for toughing it out. And he was much better in the third quarter than he was in the first half. Offense, obviously, to your point, also to blame. Pretty much zero production from the bench. Didn't get a single bench point until the fourth quarter, at which point Charlotte's bench had already scored 32. That's not good. They went 5 minutes in the first quarter without a basket, 4 minutes in the second quarter without a basket. And that was the area where you basically, it was Cat and it was OG and it was nothing else. So if I'm to zoom out and look for like a wider like team issue here, I will lean on the side of this 2-game losing streak being exceptionally frustrating, but not a big deal, in the sense that like the negatives to come out of it are not anything we don't already know. Like it's Tom Thibodeau. And tonight maybe you give him the excuse with no Mitchell Robinson. Continue to play pressures at Achiuwa, continue to play non-spacing lineups that make things incredibly difficult on someone like Mikal Bridges, on OG Anunoby, on Karl-Anthony Towns, basically anyone whose game revolves around getting the basket. Like, the degree of difficulty is just exceptionally high. Like, Cat, as bad as he was on defense, offensively was working miracles, like driving through three guys, finishing with just like ridiculous sauce on his layup, like inside hand reverse finishes, because that's what it took with like just the crappy spacing the Knicks had. And it's a team that's completely exhausted. I think the stat I saw was like in the last month, they've traveled the equivalent of halfway around the world. I could just quickly read out their post All-Star break schedule, but it's pretty nuts. I'll just start February 28th at Memphis, at Miami, Golden State at home, at LA, at Sacramento, at Portland, at Golden State, Miami, at San Antonio, at Charlotte. So outside the two games in LA, like it has been, I think since pre All-Star break, they played two straight games in the same city. And they got into Charlotte at 3 a.m. last night. And I know everyone can fairly say, yeah, but these are the realities of the NBA. I'm not saying it like this is great. Like, they should be playing this bad. Like even no Brunson, tired aside, they should be competing with these teams, if not beating them at the very least. I just think it's reasonable to go in that direction when they were previously, if I did my math right, 24-2 against sub 500 teams, and you lose two in a row. Obviously, no Jalen Brunson is a big part of that, but I'm prone to attributing some of that to the travel, because I don't think it was just Cat. Like, it felt like this entire team was stuck in mud tonight.
I mean, it definitely seems that way.
Yeah.
That said, I don't know. I don't know if I fully agree. I kind of
Mm.
lean more on the direction of these guys know what they're getting into. I mean, Hart literally had the quote yesterday acknowledging, like,
Yeah.
yeah, we know what we're getting into. We're NBA players. We're ready for this stuff. Whatever. It's the dog days of the season. I think the disappointing thing to me, and maybe we could talk about this more in the next segment or whatever, or just leave it at this. But the disappointing thing to me with two straight losses like this is I wasn't like worried, and I'm still not worried. I think they're just being lazy and stupid, with how they're playing the game right now, and underestimating opponents and thinking that they can just like sleepwalk to a victory against NBA teams, which is not how things work. But I think the big thing to me is that this team didn't do this last year before. They had a certain sense of pride about if they lost a really terrible game, no matter what the circumstances, they would come out in that next game and they would like whoop some butt. Like, they would
Mhm.
not take that laying down, and they would say, no, yeah, okay, fine. We got beat by the Spurs yesterday. We let a role player go crazy on us. Like, let's go hand a butt whooping to the Hornets, and let's get back on the winning track, rest up before our next game or whatever. And the flying thing, like, fine, but like it's not like they're flying coach. It's like you're flying on a private jet. You get opportunities to sleep. Whatever. I don't know. I don't buy into that stuff as much. But maybe we can talk about that more in the next segment. We got plenty more to talk about, I guess. We'll see how long we can go on this one, but I am gonna run out of steam with this particular game at a certain point. But there's still more to talk about, so we'll get into it in just a moment when we get back in. But first, I wanted to let you all know about Upwork. And scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. And with Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. So whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. And what can Upwork do for you? It can help you find the right talent. So if you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivers incredible results. You can have fast and easy hiring. You post a job, it's free and simple. And within a day, you can get multiple qualified candidates to choose from. And you can have cost effective growth. So instead of hiring full time, Upwork helps you find affordable top tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. So visit upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's upwork.com, upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today.
And we also want to tell you about our good friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. March Madness is here. A lot of fun today. The more fun than the Knicks. And FanDuel is giving you the chance to get on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. Picking my favorites, I've got an eye on a few underdogs this year. My Drexel Dragons. I've shout out to Ben McCollum. Incredible job bringing 4 starters from a D2 team, and they upset Missouri today. Really cool story. And FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. Staying in on the action with tournament games happening almost every day. There's always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly. No waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops actions all tournament long. Hey, what's up, guys? We are back here on Locked On Knicks, trying to provide a little therapy after a 115-98 loss to the Charlotte Hornets. So I'll address that last point you made and then throw it right back to you to expand on it. But preseason after the Cat trade, I had Jonathan Macri of Knicks Film School on this podcast, and I was saying, like, at what point do you worry about the loss of culture, right? Hardenstein was already out the door. And then I would say, like, DiVincenzo was equally, if not, like, I can't say he was more important than Jalen Brunson just because your best player sets the tone, but like right there with Brunson, right there with Josh Hart as being the tone setter on this team. And I look at it as like the ship of Theseus problem, right? Anyone who watched WandaVision is certainly familiar, right? You have an old ship. You keep a ship like that goes on the sea. You keep not like what the Knicks are trying to win. You keep replacing it with new parts. At what point is it the old ship, and at what point does it become a new ship when it has entirely new parts? And John was kind of pushing back. It was like, well, Mikal Bridges was part of that same culture. Like, I think like it was going to be the same, and I thought that was a fair argument. I heard other people make that argument, but we've seen now that like it's not quite the same. And Fred Katz actually went on the Knicks Film School podcast, and he was sort of the same thing. Like when John asked him about is the culture still there? Is this like a big issue between Mikal and Tibbs with the comments last week? And he was like, it's not like a 5-alarm fire, but it is an ongoing thing where the Knicks had this culture that was based like in Tibbs's model of just all these guys being like killer, like basketball first, second, third competitors. And that is just not really who Mikal Bridges is. Like Karl-Anthony Towns is very competitive, but I don't think he's like quite always a killer in the sense that someone like Dante DiVincenzo was, or Isaiah Hardenstein was. And at a certain point, like that's just gone. So I completely agree with you that that's part of this and that's an issue. I just don't think that's news to me because I've been talking about it all season long, and like we've been commenting on it, I think, all season long. So like, yeah, I do think that's a big part of it. And this team last year that could play above and beyond their talent, like I just don't really see that anymore with this group.
Yeah, I guess the thing is they don't need to play above and beyond their talent to beat a
Okay,
team
but
of
well,
this
all right. So I'm
caliber.
saying like on a night when they're tired, like just
Yeah,
play up to their talent, even
I
like
guess. Yeah,
on
I mean,
adverse circumstances, I guess is what I'm talking about.
yeah, I guess it's just this is the first time that we've seen them in this situation this
Mhm.
season. I would argue because to this point, the only times when they've really like dropped consecutive games or whatever, or gone on mini losing streaks has been against formidable teams, like when they face the really good teams of the league, back to back to back or whatever, or when they, have a game against a lesser team and then have another game against a really good team the game after it. Like they've just
Mm.
had very few times where I want to say the first time that they lost back to back games was versus like the Hawks was the second game, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, earlier this season. And like, I remember even with that, we were like, oh, they should probably beat these guys. But like, as we saw at that time, like the Hawks were pretty formidable. Like they were beating like some good teams. And, I don't even know if that's fully correct. I just remember that feeling around that one game against the Hawks, like, oh, they should have beaten these guys and they didn't. And that felt disappointing at the time. And now that feels like child's play compared to this, which is just like where is just the desire to just kick a lesser team's teeth in for a game, like
Can
it
I can
just
I just ask you real quick?
yeah.
Do you think this is really? Do you think this is different than not showing up the second Thunder game, not showing up at all against the Cavs? Like do you attribute that to the same quality, or do you think you put this in a different category?
I would put this in a different category because I think that like when you're playing a team like a Cleveland or an OKC and they come out and they just like really punch you in the mouth early,
Mhm.
it can be easier to get to kind of get out of your element early and then not be able to like pick yourself back up because you're facing one of the top couple teams in the league. It still doesn't make it less disappointing. The fact that like those games, like at least these last two games, it felt like they had a little fight at different points,
Mhm.
like where they were like trying to claw back against these really bad teams. Where there was a little less of that against like OKC and Cleveland, where it seemed like they just kind of went down by like 25 early, and we're just like, well, I guess that's it. Um, so that part is different, but I just feel like they should be able to beat these teams, even if they fall down by. I mean, they should never get in a 30-point hole against a team as bad as the two teams they faced the last 2 days. So
Mhm.
that's thing one. But then thing two is if they decide that they want to win the game, they should be able to find that. And the problem was that they were able to find that on offense a few times in this game, but then defensively they just couldn't bring themselves to give a crap enough to defend for long enough to get back in the game. And that's my biggest problem is just like put a run together. Like they kind of did it against San Antonio and then just like I don't know if they just like ran out of steam or what. Like, they just they suddenly couldn't make a shot and then went right back to not defending again. They let Mamu get wide open like 8 times in a row and score like 25 straight points on them at the end of the game. Like, that was their way of losing that game. And then this one, it was kind of similar. Like they kind of just died and just stopped defending LaMelo Ball at a certain point, and then he hits a couple threes on them and puts the Hornets back up by like 15 points late in this game too when there was like a minuscule chance of a comeback, and then it was kind of just all over from there. It's just I don't know. It's disappointing. That's mostly what it is. It was someone someone nailed it in our YouTube comments yesterday where they were like they were like Alex, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. That's basically me right now. Like I'm
Yeah.
not it's hard to even be mad at it. Like I'm not like it's just because you can't be mad because it's not like this is like something that you don't think that they can overcome. It's just disappointing because you know that they could overcome it if they
Mhm.
just wanted to. And I think that if they just kind of like felt a little more motivated to win these games, maybe they would just win them. It's like they have the talent to do it and they're just not doing it right now. And something just feels off in a weird way in that respect. And maybe it's just the Brunson missing. Maybe it is, like you said, maybe they lost too much of their edge by losing certain guys. But it just feels like they don't have that same like fervor about them, that like sense of pride, I guess. I don't know.
No, there's definitely the magic that was there last year is gone to some extent. I would definitely say that. I don't know. I can't get myself like not. I am disappointed to agree with you and the commenter, but I look at that schedule and I look at the fact that they lost Jalen Brunson, who had the ball in his hands on a per game basis more than any other player in the NBA. And like it was just the worst time to lose him. Like you have this crazy stretch where you need like you need the whole team. And I'm not saying like the Knicks deserve to be healthy. Like a lot like look, San Antonio was missing De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama, right? So that shouldn't be an excuse. It is only an excuse in the sense that these guys that have already been playing heavy minutes are now still playing those heavy minutes, plus the travel, and those minutes become much harder minutes when Jalen Brunson's not on the floor, right? And I said that earlier this year. Like we could say, look, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, like leading the league in minutes. Obviously, sure, an issue, but at the same time, their minutes offensively are not that hard because a lot of the time they're just sitting there and watching Jalen Brunson. That's its own problem. But they did have those like whatever 10 possessions a game where they were essentially like catching their breath. And they don't have those anymore. And you could argue like, all right, again, like they're paid whatever 20, 30, $40 million a year to be in shape to play those minutes, to be in shape to handle that travel, to handle lack of sleep. Like I'm here for all of that. I guess I'm not arguing that they should or shouldn't be tired. I just think the reality is they are, because that's my only explanation for a team that all year long, like whatever we want to say, like as much as they have sucked against the top three teams in the NBA, they have absolutely taken care of business now for 2 straight years. And like whatever, like to your point, maybe those are two different things, because whatever killer edge is missing against top teams, it generally has not been, at least at the end of games, they've been able to pull things out. And like even if Brunson was here, like if the scores were the same, it wouldn't have mattered because you can't pull it out end of game when you're already down by 15. So we can take one more break. We'll get into some of the specifics next. It was a good night offensively for OG Anunoby. I continue to have my frustrations with Josh Hart. Good second half for Deuce McBride. And boy, oh boy, is it tough to watch Precious Achiuwa play basketball now. We'll talk about it all in just a sec here on Locked On Knicks.
But first, we want to let you know about our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. And daylight savings snuck up on us again. And if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5 Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament, squeezing in a round of golf after work, or just trying to keep up with your busy day, such as recording podcasts at around midnight, like we often do, 5 Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick me up whenever you need it. And I'll tell you what, for basketball madness, like if you want to start staying up, watching all that tournament action, especially this first weekend, those games are going late. They got games all day, all night, lots of stuff going on. 5 Hour Energy helps keep me up the next day. I have one locked and loaded, ready for work tomorrow, so I can survive work tomorrow. So head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one now? Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
All right, and we're back in to keep talking through the second straight big old loss to a bad team. And Gavin, you know what? I've been thinking about it, and it came to me during last segment, and I was thinking about it during the game, and I've got a take I want to run by you. So maybe this just absolves us from having to talk about anything else about this game. Sort of big picture. The more I was watching this game, and maybe this I don't know. I know that you're a booster of having this guy in the starting lineup, and I don't mean this as a slight to him. The more I was watching this game, the more I kept thinking to myself, is a good solution right now with where things are going with this offense, like finding a lot of stagnation at times, with like the team missing a scoring punch off the bench right now. Is there a case to be made that starting Cam Payne with Brunson out kind of makes sense right now? Like, I was thinking about that during this game, and I'm like, I just feel like, I don't think that Cam is a better player than Deuce McBride, fully. You know what I mean? I don't think that he's like just straight up a better player or a better fit or anything else. But, or I shouldn't say the fit part. I think there is something to be said for slotting him into this particular lineup that is running into the particular issues that they're running into, where it hits a certain point and they just like hit a wall as far as creation. It seems like every single game where they can get a few good like backdoor cuts for a few plays. Cat like found Bridges on a really nice one at one point in this game. OG made some really nice cuts and made some nice dunks, whatever. But then it just hits a certain point where it feels like they can't get the creation that they need, and then the opposing defense clamps up on them a bit, starts playing them a little tighter, starts watching for those cuts, and then suddenly they're just stuck in ISO land trying to find their way to get into the paint or whatever, and then having trouble getting that. They don't really have guys running as much pick and roll as they should right now. And I feel like maybe just putting Payne out there, fine, still play him like 20 minutes a game or whatever. You don't have to like turn it into like, oh, we'll just have him play every minute that Jalen Brunson would play. But I wonder if that would help the Knicks like get off to a little bit of a better start right now and avoid these like horrible slow starts that they're falling into these last couple of games, and maybe just kind of get them back on track. And on the bright side, give them the scoring punch that they normally get from Deuce McBride, who oftentimes is like, when they're fully healthy, he's kind of like their only offense off the bench some nights. Like, he's the only guy that can make a shot consistently a lot of times. And, that's, I guess I'm making a case for one of the guys who oftentimes can't make shots, and Cam Payne. But like Payne and Shamit, it's kind of like all or nothing, it feels like. Whereas Deuce, I mean, sometimes he's all or nothing too, but he at least gets the shots up, draws the defense out, makes things interesting off the bench against opposing bench units. So I don't know. Am I crazy? Like, is that maybe a solution that we could run into? I like at this point, I'm kind of just like something's not. If you're losing these two games after you had previously shown good things, earlier in this Jalen Brunsonless time, where you beat the crap out of Miami, like you managed to beat Sacramento, without Brunson, like you've looked pretty good in some of these games, and to now look this bad, maybe something just small like that needs to change at this point.
Yeah, I made the argument for it after the Clippers game, so I'm
Yeah.
kind of on the same page as you. Deuce, he's been better about it. Like the Clippers game was a low, but going back to last year, my single biggest issue with him playing, I mean, one, I don't think he is a natural point guard. I don't think he draws enough attention, and he looks just deeply uncomfortable initiating offense, and he's very slow to initiate offense. Like he had a play in the middle of the first quarter of this game where he did literally nothing for 10 seconds, like dribbled up, and then it was like a computer like processing. Like you got the big spinny beach ball death, and it took him, like with 14 on the shot clock, he just makes like a simple pass to Mikal Bridges on the wing. And I think Cam Payne, like whatever you want to say about him, and he hasn't really been playing particularly well since Brunson's got hurt, and he hasn't shot the ball as well as he did earlier this year, and he just hasn't made the same impact. Like he knows how to run an offense. Like he is a professional NBA point guard, which Deuce, for all the great aspects of his game, is not. So I would start Cam Payne. I would start him over Josh Hart, though, who teams continue to not really guard as he continue. Like he has his second straight really bad game. Like he, to me, is the clearest example of dead legs because he's a guy whose effort you could ever question. And even his effort tonight, I thought was fantastic at times. Like the way he was battling for rebounds, like he was laying his body on the line, trying to save loose balls. But he is just like, he was an automatic guy as a finisher earlier this year. And it's been very hit or miss since Brunson got hurt. I think he is exhausted. We know about the runner's knee or whatever he had coming out of the All-Star break. Like, I think he's someone with the Knicks seed. Maybe if they keep losing to these teams, it's not so locked in. But I think still, 4.5 games up on the Pacers or so. Like I feel pretty confident they're going to hold on to the 3 seed. I would start playing Josh Hart off the bench. I think that's actually a good way to prepare for the lineups that are more likely to give you success in the playoffs. And start Cam, start Deuce, start Mikal, start OG, start Karl-Anthony Towns, and like actually see what 5-out looks like around Towns. I know that's a novel concept, and you have all of Hart's energy, and most importantly, Josh Hart is someone like on the ball and particularly coming off a rebound can create offense, and I think that could really spark the second unit and get guys like Landry Shamet easy shots. So that's how I would approach it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not against putting Hart on the bench either. Although, I mean, he had a fairly passive but efficient offensive game in this one. I mean, he was the best 3-point shooter on the team for the
Yeah,
night.
two of them were in garbage time though. I want to
Yeah,
yeah.
but whatever, it shows up on the
Yeah,
stats.
yeah. So I guess you take what you can get on a night like
You
this.
take what you can get with Josh Hart at this point. Yeah, but certainly with how he's been playing lately, I think maybe a move to the bench would be good for him as well. Um, I just don't think Tibbs is going to do it. If I'm being honest, I don't feel like that's something that he would even entertain as much as I would love to see it.
Yep.
But yeah. Anyway, yeah. What about the rest of this game, Gavin? I don't know. I'm already kind of out of things to talk about because I'm
Sure.
already eager to
Yeah.
not talk about this game anymore. So, was there anything else that stood out to you in this one before we kind of wrap things
Yeah,
up?
I will try to. I took way too many notes, which I have a really bad. I knew the score, and I still took way too many notes. So I'll try to make this as quick as possible. I mentioned the scoreless runs. I think I mentioned the defense, but like Cat being asleep, there's one play early that just stood out to me where Josh Hart. By the way, Daquan Jeffries in this game, Kenny Albert had this stat, but anyone who missed it, scored 14 points. That was as many points as he had in 2 years on the New York Knicks. So if you want to say this was an embarrassment, that's a good way to sum it up. But early on, Josh Hart like gambles off Jeffries, trying to poke the ball away for Mark Williams for a steal. And he expects Cat to rotate over and cover for him in the paint, which Cat just stands there, and like it's a kick out to Jeffries. Hart runs past him on the closeout. Cat never rotates. It's a dunk for Jeffries. That's on both of them, but I think it's more on Cat because I think that was a smart gamble from Josh Hart. One cool thing, this is one rare cool thing that the Knicks did really well tonight was Tom Thibodeau realizing that the Hornets put Mark Williams on OG Anunoby so he wouldn't have to like guard Karl-Anthony Towns pick and pops, which would have been a disaster because Mark Williams is fine as a rim protector, but is not really good in space as a defender. And Tibbs notices that. And in the first half, try to pick and pop between Deuce and OG. Deuce hit OG on a hook pass for a wing three. I don't know if they went back to it the rest of the first half, but the second half, someone clearly pointed that out to Tibbs because they run it 3 straight times. OG gets a 3. Next time, Deuce gets a switch onto Williams and gets a blow by for a layup. And then another high screen, another wing 3, the third of the game they get out of that action. Hornets catch onto it. They switch Mikal Bridges onto OG Anunoby. But at that point, I don't know why Tibbs just says, all right, Mark Williams is still on the floor. I'm just going to spam pick and pop with Cat instead. And that was annoying. But Deuce had a really good second half, battling through injury. Josh Hart struggled. OG Anunoby did a great job attacking the rim in this game. Mikal did some good stuff on cuts. Cat's passing, Cat's finishing was really good. Final thing I'll note, I thought Precious Achiuwa was an absolute disaster on both ends of the floor. Like there was a play earlier where Mikal drove baseline, drew help, kicks to Precious. Precious doesn't want to take the mid-range, so he drives aimlessly, kicks it back out. It's every time you pass it to Precious Achiuwa, it's a possession killer. They also had that play earlier where Mikal got it to him in transition. Nurkic was kind of halfway back. I thought Precious, if he hustled, had a layup, pulls it out. Josh Hart's wide open, and Precious just doesn't pass him the ball. Like he just froze off the ball. He was aimless. He bricked an open 3, had a lazy pass to OG that LaMelo stole, missed like a 2-foot, like pretty much open putback. Like he is really in his own head right now. And when Mitchell Robinson's healthy, like I just, and out there, I don't think there's any justification for playing Precious Achiuwa. And Alex, I think that is a perfectly negative note to end this podcast on.
I'm with you. And mercifully, we're done for this week. This is one of those games that makes you wish you didn't host a daily podcast where you got to talk about this crapshoot, especially after yesterday. So mercifully, we're done for this week, but we will be back next week with some more great content for you guys. So stay tuned. But until then, thank you all for listening. Talk to you soon. Enjoy the first weekend of the NCAA tournament to take your mind off the Knicks a little bit. And we'll talk to you all next week. Peace out, everybody.